I hope to come through the experience having gained an experience I didn't have before, that I'm going to learn and grow from. And even though there are days that I'd like to spend all day in my room, I can't do that. And the role that has been carved for me, that I have carved for myself, that was a niche that somehow needed to be filled, and I was there at the time, and it filled it to a certain extent. I can't walk away from that. I'm committed to that.
What I do now is I work as part of a project to develop capacity across the state of Illinois to provide diagnostic and treatment services for children with autism spectrum disorders or adults with autism spectrum disorders. As a large part of that, I do training of pre-professionals, school psychologists, undergraduates who are in psychology or special education, speech and language pathology. And we run treatment for these kids. How's it changed? I mean, it changes all the time. We do a lot more collaboration with families and schools than we did 20 years ago. Probably the types of things that we work on are more relevant to having them be able to be comfortable in community settings, comfortable in schools.
I went to school and learned about students with learning disabilities and behavior disorders. You know, I mean, I'd heard of autism, but probably my second year in, I had a student in a class, a student. A couple of years later, there were a couple students, and then we hear about a couple that are going to come over here, and we're like, well, what's so great about our school? And then the next thing you know, I'm hooked on this one girl who I go to a meeting, and I just, instead of listening to anybody, I'm just watching this girl in this meeting that I was asked to attend. I was hooked. I mean, it was, how do I work with them more? Because I think there's such an innocence and such a powerful feeling that I get from being around these kids. They want to learn. They have souls that are just, you know, they're not there to argue with you. They really want to do a good job. I have seen an increase in the number of students that are diagnosed, and I don't know if it's an awareness factor or if it's really more kids have autism. I've gone from working with 1 or 2 to working with 15 at a time in school, and you know, developing classes for these students and working with them in summer camp. And I remember the first year I started summer camp, 15 students, last year 28. And that's just at my high school, you know, and that's at that particular level.
At the time, there was limited information even 8 years ago. You Googled autism and you get, you know, maybe 150,000 hits. Today you Google autism and you get 5 billion.
I went to Normal to finish a screenplay, Normal Folk. And basically what I did was I locked myself in a bed and breakfast at night, and daytime I'd roam the town and meet people, and it was cold, it was beautiful, and I just wanted to get the feeling that I had lived there. I had originally written the character to be a male, about 40 years old, but after meeting Marty, I realized that, I had realized that I had access to someone who had autism, who was able to give me that inner dialogue firsthand, which is critical when you're writing a character. I needed that insight. But then I was basically asking her at the last part of my trip to play the character herself. And that's a huge challenge, because it's essentially asking Marty to return to autism, which could potentially be a very scary place and a very, very dangerous place to go.
I met Graham, and I signed on with the idea of supporting this film and producing this film, not merely because I believed in the script and the subject matter, which was very moving to me, but I really believe in Graham and his ability to tell a story. He also is an actor's director. He has a capacity to relate to all kinds of people. Graham in Cages went from directing Mako, who's been in over 150 films, to dealing with a first-time blind young boy as an actor. And he was able to relate specifically to each of them and motivate them and bring out incredible performances. And that's why I refer to him as an actor's director, because he's able to empathize and really understand what they're going through. And for most actors, it's all about emotion and conveying emotion on the screen. And it's the director's job to elicit the proper emotion, to keep it the right size, not have it be too big or too small. But when you think of someone like Marty, unlike the rest of us, most of us, emotions and moments in our lives are just that. They're moments that happen. But for Marty, the moments in her lives that she has to relate to and call upon to be able to tell the story are everything. There's a certain, I think in good acting there's a certain amount of danger, but I think there's more danger in this situation because we're really dealing with an autistic person, and a person who is relying upon genuine personal emotions that are true to the character of the film. And I think that when you go down that road in a film, you're in dangerous territory. But I think the character, and I think the film, and I think Marty are in good hands with Graham.
Jackie and Marty and I had talked about doing an exercise to kind of explore how she would get into that zone, to that character, how she would tap into those emotions. We had to find a way that was going to be practical on set and yet be safe at the same time. And so it was kind of, it was scary, really. It was uncharted territory. We were all quite nervous, and Marty was especially nervous, but we all knew that we had to go there. We had to try this.
I was nervous about it, but just so curious too, before we started.
Marty's very emotional, whether it's on the good side or the bad side, easy to make very, very happy and easy to make very, very sad. Bringing up, recalling memories or helping her to recall memories will take her there very quickly on both sides. There's a lot of people in the room. You want to focus just on me because there's too many people